All right, we are going to be tackling Dragonize today. And I know this looks like, whoa, that's so complicated, but and this is a little more complicated of a project, but it's also super fun. I'm also not going to ask you to do the entire thing in colored pencil like you're seeing here on my Dragon Eye. I asked my 5th graders to do that, but as 4th graders, the only part I'm going to ask you to do in colored pencil, one, to save on time, because otherwise it can take a long time, and also because you're just starting to learn how to blend colored pencils, is we're going to worry only about this inside area. The iris of the eye, that's the colored part of the eye, and the pupil, that's the black part. And then the outer part, if you wish, you can do that in just watercolor, because that's faster and easier. Now, if you're someone who loves colored pencil, which I know a lot of you guys do love colored pencil, you are free to go ahead and try the outside. I'm just going to warn you, it can take a long time. When we do it in school, it takes us about 4 class periods to get it done. So that's 4 hours. So just know that. And also know that I'm not requiring you to do this in colored pencil. So let's talk about Dragonize. First thing you need to do is Google Dragonize. And you're going to come up with all kinds of stuff, like one of those. Maybe you're going to find one that looks like this. Might even find a spiky one. Doesn't matter. Just kind of scroll through, check them out, just to give yourself some ideas. Again, you're not to copy these. Just, you might have an idea. Like maybe you're going through there in the Google and you find something that looks crazy like this, and you say to yourself, ooh, when I do my eye, I want to put lots of crazy veins inside my eye. Or, oh, I really like how they did the iris on this eye. So use that to give yourself some ideas. So that's step number 1. Google Dragonize and check it out and give yourself some ideas. Then your imagination's going to take over. Now, let's get to the drawing part of how we draw these things. Sorry, Miss Moore has lots of paper on her desk. Also, I need to move my camera. Okay. There we go. Now we can see. Here's one I started yesterday in the Zoom, but let's switch to drawing a fresh one from scratch. First of all, something to notice. Dragon eyes are not a hard thing to draw, so please don't overthink this. You already have the drawing skills you need to draw this. You are basically going to draw a frown and a smile. And that's about all you need to know. Here we go. I want you to start drawing with your pencil. Why do we draw with pencil first? Because when we draw with Sharpie first, we can't erase it. So go ahead and just throw a big old arch on there. It doesn't matter if it's perfect. I never draw stuff perfect the first time. That just kind of doesn't exist. Get used to always drawing things a couple of times. So there's my big old frown. And in fact, you know my mistake I made here? I'm going to use this and turn that into the eyelid. Now I'm going to throw the big old smile on there. Piece of cake. Got a basic eye going on. I can at this point start to do some thinking. Do I want stuff like these, I don't know, I was calling these biscuits or loaves of bread. I don't know, it's kind of bumpy. Do I want a bumpy texture down here? I did. And then I decided I wanted some eyelids, so I drew those. But then I thought, you know, I don't want to do the whole thing bumpy. I think I'm going to throw in some scales. So it's up to you. I'm going to draw basic part of a circle in here. You won't see the whole circle because part of it is hidden by the eyelid. So I'm drawing 2 curved lines to make the iris or the colored part of the eye. Here's where you need to make some decisions. What kind of iris do I want? I think this time I'm going to do, I'm going to do a kind of weird shaped one. I'm using a bunch of curved lines, and you do not have to do what I do. You want a circle one, draw a circle one. If you want to do a cat eye looking one, do a cat eye. Cat eye one is what I did when I drew this one. You want a round one, do a round one. I'm just going to throw a wacky looking iris or pupil in here. Pupil's the dark part. One thing I want you to make sure you do is add an eye highlight. That's where the light reflects off the eye, and it's a little white bit. You're going to leave this little, I just drew a rectangle and I'm going to leave that white. Okay. And then I usually get impatient about this point and I want to color in the pupil part. But so if you want to go ahead and color this in black, you can. I'm going to start thinking about what's around the eye. I think that I'm going to, on this one, add another eyelid. I always think of dragons having these great big saggy eyelids. So I'm going to put another eyelid. And then I'm going to add, there's a little strip below your eye. And if you look at your own eye closely, you will see that you have a water line below your eye. It's kind of, I also call it the eye shelf because it looks like a little tiny shelf. Let's see. I think on this dragon, I am going to put a row of those little bumpy thingies. I don't know what you call them. Dragon bumps. It's up to you. I'm going to make mine slowly increase in size as I go around. Notice how I'm turning the paper when I draw. I want you guys to get used to that because your wrist rotates this way. And so it's actually easier for you to draw when you turn the paper so that it makes it easier for your wrist. Because my wrist moves this way. So when I want to go around something, I'm going to turn the paper so my wrist could easily make that around motion. And I'm sort of slightly rounding. These are kind of like rectangles, but I am rounding the edges. So they're sort of like oval rectangles. Oak-tangles. All right, so I have made a bumpy line there. And then after this, you can go wild with scales. I don't know how you're going to want to do yours. How you do it is up to you 100%. Now let's talk scales. You can go with the traditional U-shaped scales. We've all probably been doing these for quite some time. When we do fish, or if you're a dragon lover, you've totally done these ones before. So that's one kind you can have. And on the Canvas page, I have included lots of different kinds that you can choose from. I've had some of my students in 5th grade, they did triangle scales. Some of them did scales that you don't even know what they are because they're a crazy made-up shape. That's fine too. Your imagination is probably going to give you some ideas. So there's triangle scales. On my big purple dragon, that was this dragon eye, I wanted to do some tear-shaped ones. So I went up, like made a teardrop shape, and did some of these. All this is really up to you. I would say these look more feathery. I want you to draw lightly in case you need to erase. Also, the other reason you want to draw lightly is if you draw really hard and push really hard and then you erase, you leave kind of a, I call it a ditch, but it's where you've made a groove in the paper. And then when you go to color over it with your colored pencil, that groove shows up. And it usually is, it kind of makes you mad because you're like, why is there a white line in the middle of my picture now? And that's because you pressed too hard when you were drawing. So try to draw as lightly as possible. Now, let's talk about the part where you have to do the blending. And that's probably the hardest part. And you're just learning this, so I don't want you to be too hard on yourselves because it's tricky. And it's just something that takes a lot of practice. Right here now, I've got my dragon eye that is partially colored. You can see that I've started to color in the iris part, or sorry, not the iris, but the iris and the pupil. I'm going to go ahead and get this pupil sort of more colored in, because that'll be your next step. This is the only place I want you to use black. Black is one of those colors that's really powerful, and when you use it to blend, unfortunately, when black mixes with most colors, it makes them look kind of gray and murky. So when we create the dark areas in our drawings, we are going to be using dark green, dark purple, dark blue, but we're not going to use black. So really, the only place we're going to put the black is right here. So know that. Unless you're actually working on a dragon that has gray scales, and in that case, you will use the black if you have a gray dragon. But if you've got any other color of a dragon, we're going to avoid using the black for the blending. So right here in the eye, I'm going to get that color black. And honestly, I will probably go over this again. The other day in the Zoom, someone had a great idea, and they said, you know, you could actually use your Sharpie right here and then color over the Sharpie with the colored pencil, and it makes it go faster. And that is true. So if you want to underlay it with Sharpie, sometimes you get that really dark black. Ideally, you want it to look like seriously black like this. Okay, let's talk about how to get something to go from a light color to a dark color. This is shading, guys. It's shading using color. So there's a reason why we learn how to shade with just pencil first because it's easier to go from light to dark with only one color. We are going to be using 3 colors. So your first thing is you need to decide what color your dragon is going to be. If you want it to be an orange-red dragon, you're going to collect 3 colors for that. If you want him to be a green dragon, collect those 3. Here's what I mean. I am going to be trying to attempt a orange-red dragon, so I'm going to collect a dark color, and in this case, it's going to be my red pencil. Then I want a medium color, so it's a little lighter, and I think orange is good for that, and then a yellow, and that's going to be my highlight or light color. Here's something to avoid. If you pick out, like, say, red and a green and a blue, these are going to be hard colors to blend because they are all pretty close in value. They're all kind of medium to dark colors. And so when you put them next to each other, instead of kind of a nice blend, it will give you problems. So try to pick something in the same family. You guys by now know that we have warm colors, which are your reds, your oranges, and your yellows. And we have cool colors that are blues and greens and purples. So pick either the warm colors or the cool colors for your dragon, and whatever you do, like if your skin is a warm color, like you see my dragon has here, and I used red and orange and yellow, then I decided, well, my eye needs to be cool colors in order to have contrast. Contrast means it really pops out. There's a big difference between this green and the oranges. Okay. So one thing, first of all, to know is that the more you press with your colored pencil, the darker something gets. How do you tell how hard you're pressing? So take your hand and lightly drag your colored pencil across it, very lightly. That is light pressure. So when I talk about light coloring, it's like your pencil's barely touching your hand. And in your case is going to be the paper, but I want you to try it on your hand so you know how it feels. So this is light pressure. Now, if I took my pencil and pressed a little harder, not so I hurt myself, but just a little bit, that's medium pressure. Now, if I took my pencil and I pressed as hard as I could, well, it probably hurt my hand, but that's hard pressure. So you have to be able to know the difference between the 3. So I will give you an example. Here's my red pencil. When I'm pressing as hard as I can, it looks like that. It gets very shiny, very dark. When I'm pressing medium hard, it looks like this. When I'm pressing lightly, it's looking like this. And when we start out here, shading these eyes, we are going to go with pressing lightly first. All right. So here's some what to do's and what not to do's. Your goal today is to make your eye go smoothly from a dark color to a light color. Here's what you don't want. You don't want to have a big stripe or like a hard line in between colors. You can see this dark purple is like really a harsh line right here between it and the medium purple. Your goal is to instead get it to blend smoothly. Another thing you want to avoid is where you do really sloppy, like what I call kindergarten coloring, where you've got a lot of spaces showing up in there, and that just shows me that you're in a hurry, and it doesn't look very nice. So again, you want a smooth blend from dark to light. So how to do that? You want to start, let me draw myself a quick scale here. You want to start at the whatever end is going to be your dark end. Actually, I'm going to draw more than one scale. And say that's the bottom of my eye. Being kind of messy here. I'm going to start at this end because I want these all to go dark to light, dark to light. And I like to start with my dark color, but some people like to start with the medium color. It's kind of up to you. There's also a lot of good videos on YouTube about how to blend with colored pencils. So if you've listened to one of those before and you want to go by that, that's fine too. However it works for you. I am coloring lightly. And that's where I want the dark area to go. As I get to the edge of where I want the dark area to go, I go super light. That means I'm hardly pressing on my pencil at all. Next, I'm going to grab my medium color, which is the orange, and I'm going to overlap. That means I am on top of my dark color. I go all the way over what I just did. This is important. If you want it to be a smooth blend, you need to overlap, meaning going over the other color. Now I'm going to come out further into the area that I want it to be sort of the medium area. Okay, lightly. Now I can see kind of an edge developing right here. So what I want to do is go back there, give it another coating, get rid of that hard edge because I want it to look like it just smoothly goes from one color to the next. Again, I'm going to be really barely touching the paper out here at the edge where I'm starting to go from my orange, and I'm going to go into yellow. Grabbing my yellow pencil. And now I'm going to start coloring the highlight area, or the light area. Again, I'm going to overlap, meaning I go out into where I just colored orange. You're going to see some blending is already starting to happen. Starting to look a little fiery, which is what I want. I'm going to color over the whole thing with this. All right, that's layer number 1. And at this point, you're thinking, oh man, this is a lot of work. It kind of is. But if you want cool art, you have to be willing to do a lot of work. And it's a nice skill to have. It's a skill you're going to need in every single grade and all the way through middle school and high school. So now I'm going to give it another coat, meaning I'm going to go over and do the same thing again, except I'm going to press harder. I'm going to start again, and I'm going to press a little bit harder with the red color. And whatever color it is, if you're doing a purple scale, this would be the area where your dark purple starts. It's tough because as you start to press harder, it's easier and easier to get kind of a hard line going across here. So you have to tell yourself, okay, ease up. I'm getting to the edge of where I want the dark. I'm going to press a little bit lighter. I don't need to press hard out here. I only pressed hard when where I wanted it super dark, back here at the end. And I want to blend it out gradually. Now, what I'm going to press hard with next is my orange. And because I'm overlapping and I'm pressing hard going back over the red, that's starting to bring that red up. The red's starting to look kind of shiny, kind of bright. And now I'm going to color with the orange. On out. Pressing kind of hard. Sort of medium hard to hard. But now I got to tell myself, ease off, because if I keep pressing hard out here where it's going to be yellow, I'll leave a hard line. So now I'm going to press gently with the orange. When you press hard and the colored pencils start to get shiny, that is called burnishing. Burnishing basically is another word for polishing something. And it does kind of look polished and smooth when you're done. So now I'm taking the yellow, and boy, I'm pushing hard now. And you're going to see the whole thing because I'm going over the orange. And I'm going over the yellow, or going over the red. And now the whole thing is kind of starting to glow. And because I'm working with my light color, it's easily going over the top of the dark colors, really making them come out, but it's making it pretty smooth. Now I see one area in my drawing, and that is right here, where I'm getting a little bit of an edge. Like I don't want that line there. So I'm going to go back with my orange very, very lightly. And I'm kind of moving my pencil in little circles. And I'm kind of feathering out the color so that I can get rid of my hard edge, because I don't want that hard edge in there. Anywhere I want it to get more orange, I can go and I can start pressing harder with my orange pencil. Again, there's not one way to do this. This is the way I do it. If you've watched a YouTube video, you have a better way you like, go for it. But now you can, this is the basic idea. You're wanting to go from dark to light. All right, let's talk about the eye. I'm going to do it really quickly on this eye, and then I need to try to keep this short. This is kind of a lot, I know, and it's your first time. So I want you to be easy on yourself and not get really mad at yourself if it's not working right the first time, because the first time you try anything, it's a little difficult. All right, so I've determined on this eye, I want to go from dark green all the way to yellow. So I'm going dark green, whoops, that's not yellow, to medium green, to dark green. So these are my 3 pencils. Remember, pick your 3. And if you're not sure what color they're going to be, flip your paper over and test them. Make sure that this one's dark, this really is medium, and this really is light, because sometimes you can look at a colored pencil and what the outside looks like is not what it actually draws like. So do a test before you start. I'm going to go ahead and throw this light color in. I'm going to start with the light color on this one. You'll notice my hand is moving in an arc. That is because this is a round area. Your eye is actually a ball. It's a sphere. And so I want to make sure my lines are curving. Actually, I'm going to try to make sure there are no lines, but when I'm coloring, it's much easier in this curved area to have my paper turn and my wrist moving that way. I am now going to start with my medium color, overlapping. If you don't overlap on this project, you will not get a smooth gradient, so go over the other color. You can see I'm going to stop right about here because I want this to be kind of light, so I'll ease up, don't press too hard. And then I'm going to get my dark color out, and I am going to press hard because I know I want the edge of the eye to be super dark. Sure you can see this good. Okay. But now as I'm getting out into the area that I want to be medium, I'm easing off the pressure. I am not pushing hard where I'm getting out in the middle. Going back to my medium color, I'm gonna overlap. I'm going right over the top of the dark, and I am pressing hard. Press hard through here where I want it to be this medium color. Where I get out into the light area though, ease back. Remember, gentle pressure. And I'm just barely touching that paper. Now I'm going all the way back to my light color, and I'm going to press super hard. And then we're going to see a lot of the burnishing take place. It's going to start getting shiny, start looking glowy. And I'm overlapping. Do not forget to overlap. One color's got to go right over the top of the other one. And you can see I've got that nice look here. I need to make some decisions yet on this drawing because I know this part's gonna be black, but I've got to figure out what color I'm gonna make this iris. So think your way through it. It's exactly like this. I knew that this dragon was going to be purple, and I knew that yellow was a complementary color, meaning it's across the color wheel from purple. And I also knew that yellow is a warm color and purple is a cool color, and I think they look really nice together. So if you've got a cool color eye, you might want to do a warm color dragon and vice versa. So this part here, this is the only part I'm asking you to try this new color technique on. This is the only part I need you to try to do blending with colored pencil. If you want to keep going and you want to do all the rest of your dragon that way, that's okay. But if you don't want to do that and you think, oh, this is, this is hard for me, just do this part and in here, because you're going to color the iris of the eye. And then the rest of it, you can go ahead and draw the scales using your black colored pencil. And just go ahead and get your scales in there. And then you're going to take your watercolor paint and just paint this outside area with paint. Okay, so then that'll make it a lot less time consuming. So you have two choices here. If you love colored pencils, go ahead, do the whole thing colored pencil. If this is enough for you and you've got that blend, but you think, okay, I need to get this done and I don't want to do any more of this, you can go ahead and just draw the rest of your scales with your black colored pencil and watercolor the rest of it. So that's everything you need to know about dragon eyes. And you're going to see on canvas, I have a few things about how to draw spikes. Also on canvas, I did some options for scales. So have a good time, because dragons are fun. And also remember, they're imaginary, so nobody actually knows what they look like. So there's no way to mess this up. All right, talk to you later.